In this video, we're going to be talking about Hydronics wiring diagram number 9. Okay, now this diagram is actually a pretty interesting diagram because we have a two-zone hydronic system with a singular circulator. We have an oil burner, and we also have an air handler that's on zone 2. So all of this has to be tied in together. Okay, so let's talk about how this is going to work. The first thing we really are going to need to do is let's go ahead and get the circulator circuit out of the way. So I'm going to tie circulator into C1 and C2. And I'm going to try to not cross too many wires here because it becomes a real pain when we're doing this digitally. Now B1 and B2 is going to be what powers the oil primary control. Okay, so B1 is my line voltage going to my oil primary. And that's my B wire. The labeling on oil and hydronics is actually on aquastats is pretty easy to figure out. My W is my neutral. So W is all going to be B2. Okay, and again, I'm going to try to keep this as much together as possible. You know what? I'm going to change my neutral wires to blue. That should help a little bit figure things out. So again, okay, now we're going to extend that W out on my burner motor. Okay. And I am going to come back to black for my O terminal, which is my line supply for my burner motor and transformer. Okay. So basically the only thing we have left to wire here is the FF here and TNT. Okay, because of the fact that this is all being controlled from an aquastat, all we are going to do with TT is we are going to jump TT. Okay, so you just put a jumper in across TNT. Okay, because it's all being controlled through line voltage from the aquastat. In terms of the CAD cell, let's go ahead and wire that in real quick. We're just going to go from F to F, our standard wiring here. Okay. Pardon that quick interruption there. Okay. Sorry about that. Wire fell out, so let's reconnect that. Okay, now, I still have to provide power through all of my my L1 through my breakers, and as I've said before, those are always wired in series. Okay, so I'm going to come out of there. We're going to do that way. Okay, now, we have to provide power to our L1. So I'm going to come out of there. And I'm going to provide power to L1. I also have to give power to my primary side of my transformer, because we have zone valves, so I have to feed my zone valves. Okay, I also have a neutral here. Okay, neutral is neutral. So let's go ahead and connect that neutral in. We're just going to connect it in neutral. Neutral is not switched in most 120 volt circuits, so let's go ahead and connect that neutral in. Neutral is neutral. Doesn't matter where you connect it into, neutral is neutral. Now just be aware down here we have a different situation. It's 240 volts, so it does matter. Okay. So that's where we're at so far with neutral. Now, we have to deal with the low voltage side of things. let's make this easy. We know T and T goes to my end switches. Okay, so T and T, these are Taco zone valves. T and T are my end switches. So I'm going to come across here, and I'm going to try to do this in a way where I'm not having a lot of jumps of wiring. So I'm going to come out of that T, and I'm going to connect pin 2. Got to be careful with this, okay? Because you have pin 2, which is also going to be the common for the motor, for the zone valve motor side. I'm going to come out of this T. I'm going to come in there. And there's a reason I haven't tied in that neutral yet. We'll get to that in a minute. Just wanted to make sure I didn't jump in any wires. And we're going to connect that into there. Okay, so my zone valve end switch is tied in. Now, because pin 2 is actually the common for the motor as well, I need to tie in, okay, one side of the transformer to this as well. And I'm going to pick on that side because it just makes the most sense. So we're going to come ahead in over here. And we're going to tie that transformer in. Now, what about pin 1 on the zone valves? Okay, remember, pin 1 is the W wire off the thermostats. So we're going to feed our thermostats from the secondary side of the transformer okay. So that takes care of that portion of the circuit. Okay, but we still have the air handler hanging out there. Okay, and this becomes pretty important. Now, the air handler is being run off of this RW switch here, this set of contacts. Most likely this is going to be a pipe clamp thermostat that's clamped onto one of the pipes coming from the zone valve on 2. Okay, it's going to close as the temperature rises. So, but let's deal with our line voltage situation first, okay? So L1 I'm going to, actually L2 I'm going to use black wire for. Okay, so L2 we're going to bring across here. I'm going to connect in there. And I'm also going to bring L2, and unfortunately I am going to have a wire jump in here someplace with the control wire, but that's okay, we can deal with it. Okay, L2 I'm also going to bring to there. Okay, L1 I'm going to bring straight across, and I'm going to bring to there. I'm also going to feed my transformer primary off of L1. Okay, let's tie in this blower motor. We know we have L2. We have L1. Okay. Now all we have left here is we have a 24 volt coil and our contacts for our pipe clamp thermometer or thermostat. Okay, we know that a coil, one side of it always has to go back to transformer common. Let's go ahead and wire that. Come to W, come to R. And again, if you were doing this on paper, we'd want to be a little bit more careful with angles of wire and make sure that you do any jumps for things that crosses. When you look at this diagram, the way I have it written, make sure that you know that different wire colors, if they cross each other, do not connect. Okay, so again, sequence of operation, either zone 1 or 2 calls for heat, opens the appropriate zone valve. When the zone valve is open, pins 2 and 3 have connectivity. Okay, it's an end switch that closes, operates TT on the aquastat. Aquastat allows the burner to come on. We have flame. CAD cell senses flame. As the water heats up, the pipe clamp thermometer on the air handler will close and turn on the blower motor to move warm air around the space through ductwork. You see this a lot on systems that have a separate air handler for air conditioning, but also have a hot water coil in it. Oh, let's not forget about this neutral. I almost forgot about a neutral. Tie this neutral in. That's why I try to normally do things all at the same time. So that's how we deal with an air handler and a hot water system and multiple zone valves. Watch that TT and the separate transformer connection. It's very easy to mess that up. Okay, this area in here, when you're in the field, always double check this wiring because it's very easy to mess up where you've put the T and the T. Remember, the aquastat also has a transformer. So you don't want to put 24 volts or 48 volts accidentally about one of these zone valves or through a thermostat.